Good morning. I'm laughing. I think I've been laughing every time I've come on in the last week because and the irony, which always when I say irony, it always takes me back to Blackadder, silvery and goldy. What's irony, Blackadder? What's like silvery and goldy? Um, what's holding you back? Well, I'll tell you what's holding me back right now is these technical issues I'm having. I mean, here we are, got it to work. But it seems to be by chance. Sometimes I'm having delays, drag in the video. I figured out that I thought that was my VPN. So I've switched that off. It seemed to work. Now it's not. Now I think my camera, two different modes in the camera, but then sometimes I go to change to the one that I think works, which is this format, and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes it does. So that's what's holding me back right now. And if you understood, if you sat with me at this end and realized the trouble that I've gone to be speaking to you today, you'd click subscribe. That's what you do, and you'd go over to Patreon and you'd join me there on the free level. It doesn't cost a penny, and you'd do that. I jest, but it would be nice if you did that. It'd be absolutely lovely if you did that. A minute in, and I've said nothing of value yet, other than plug things. But there you go. So it's good to be here. Good to be talking. What a rainy day it is here in County Durham, in the northeast of England. Try and track down the WhatsApp group as well. If you're a social worker, I've just launched a WhatsApp group. I've also got a WhatsApp group for self care. Anyway, what's holding you back? And this is interesting. This is interesting to me because remember 2 times ago, last time I talked about how to say no. The time before, I talked about motivation, and I talked about the bizarre fact, indeed, that that when I've got the more I'm doing, the more I have to do, the more stuff that's in my calendar, the more I seem to be motivated to do other things. And there's something in that, I suppose. There's something in that. And I remember, and I don't know whether I believe this. I don't know whether this is true, and I don't know whether this is actually a way we should play this game. But I remember somebody saying years ago, if you want something done, give it to somebody who's got loads to do, because they'll do it. They'll just crack on and get on with it. And there's something about, I'm not sure that's wholly correct, mind, because I think you could become overwhelmed. So you have to be careful of that. But there's something about being actively engaged, doing stuff you value, that you value. And that's the whole thing with social media and all this stuff, isn't it? I suppose that sometimes I think, am I dragged into this? I don't know. I'm reflecting as I talk here, reflecting in action. Am I dragged into doing stuff that I think other people will value? Well, I suppose I am, in a sense, because I wouldn't sit here and tell you things if I didn't think there would be some value to you. But it has to be a value to me, doesn't it? And it is a value to me. I've oft said all the things I talk about are things that I do. And I think, well, so that might be useful to somebody else. But what's really, really interesting is in talking about it, it reignites me. And maybe that's the cycle, isn't it? That's the cycle, I suppose. As soon as I start to do things, and I start to do things because I have to. So, over the summer, I was off work quite a bit and I didn't have to do anything. So motivation waned. But then there were some things that I had to do when I hit back end of August, early September. And suddenly there was motivation for things that I want to do. And that's really fascinating. I don't understand that. I need to go and have a get into some rabbit hole on that. Because what I think I'm saying is, as I reflect here, is that doing things that I have to do motivates me to do things that I want to do. And that's a bit bizarre, because that flies in the face of what I know about motivation. I suppose I'm quite lucky in that what I have to do largely are things that I want to do. I enjoy preparing lectures. I enjoy kind of reading stuff. So I suppose those are the things I have to do. But it's the having to do them because it's my job and I get paid that motivates me and then drives me further on. I don't know. That's bizarre. I don't know what you think of that. I don't know what you think of that, because that kind of flies in the face of this idea that intrinsic motivation is important, because that's an external motivator. And I suppose I have read in books on motivation that actually there isn't anything wrong with extrinsic motivators. Here we are, getting at the nub of it now. There isn't anything wrong with extrinsic motivators. It's just that we're happier when we're driven intrinsically. So here's the link. We've worked it out as we go. The extrinsic motivator is, well, I have to do it because I get paid and I'm back at work now and I get paid for doing these things. But actually, back to my workplace why. We've figured it out as we've been going. Back to my workplace why. Because my workplace why means that actually the extrinsic motivator stimulates me to do things that I value intrinsically. Brilliant. There you go. We figured it out. What a day it is today. There you go. And there are a few things that came to mind when I was thinking about this thing. What's holding you back? And one of the things that holds me back often, not so much now, but has done in the past, is this idea of imposter syndrome. I don't know whether you experience that. I've got a whole load of ideas on it. Imposter syndrome, I think, is a good thing, and I'm going to talk about that, or can be a good thing. If it debilitates you and stops you from doing things, it's obviously not a good thing. But if we use it, if we think about how it's a positive thing, then maybe we can use it to our advantage. But equally, I've often pondered whether imposter syndrome is a class thing, because I don't really see the likes of the elite, as we call them, or those educated in particular systems where they are educated to be full of their own self-importance. I'm thinking of Boris Johnson, aren't I, really? He hasn't got imposter syndrome, has he? Because he's been told he's not an imposter. He's been told he's got every right to be standing in Parliament or when he was Prime Minister and telling people what they need to be told. He's got every right to do that. He believes that. He believes that. When you're brought up in other systems, the class, working class or whatever, however you want to define yourself, whatever. But when you're brought up in other systems where it's, no, you have to go to work and just do what you're told. I mean, like, we're getting deep now. Then maybe when you step outside of that, and this was really me when I became a social worker, became a lecturer, it was really like, what right have I got? What right have I got to be telling these people how to go about their business and what to do and all that kind of thing? But what imposter syndrome does, as well as feeling self-doubt, it does a number of things. I think it increases your humility. I think when you're aware of your potential limitations, it means you're open to learning more stuff. And it means you're open to feedback about how you did. So it actually, this humility in that, well, am I worthy? I'm just like you, I might be the one standing in front of you talking to you, but the only reason I'm standing in front of you is because I'm doing a job where I've got the luxury of being able to read stuff and work stuff out at my leisure, often, mostly. And now I can tell you that stuff. It's not that I'm better than you. It's not that it's not that I actually know more than you. Sometimes I do because I've read the stuff, but it's not that you don't have the potential to know this stuff as well. So that it comes with the level of humility, I'd argue. And it also fuels kind of continuous growth. I mean, not a word of a lie, I completely over prepare for everything. I'm doing a presentation tomorrow morning, talking with a group of social workers. And it's a presentation that I've done, I don't know, I've probably done it, or versions of it, 20, 30 times, if not more, and I will still sit this morning and prepare. And I'll add stuff in and I'll think about what I want to say around things. And it's the same things I said last time, probably, but it means that I keep exposing myself to new material about the same subject matter. so yeah, so I'm just so constantly grow. Well, you're constantly growing as a consequence of this imposter syndrome, I think. So see, it's a good thing. So so it means in that it avoids an overconfidence, and I think overconfidence. I always used to say when I was a social worker and having been through this myself and watched other people, the dangerous point in anybody's career, the dangerous point in anything, is when you think you've got it. You think you've got it sussed. You think you know what you're doing, and as soon as you think what you know, as soon as you think you know what you're doing, you become overly confident. Now, there's nothing wrong with being confident. There's nothing wrong with being confident in what you know. But if you're overly confident, then you're not bothered about growth. You don't feel humble. You know, you're not bothered about working hard at at getting getting the stuff right. You know, um, there was a T-shirt that I was going to wear for induction week that I wasn't allowed. No, that's not true. I could have. And it said, and I do believe this to a point. To a point. That's everything, isn't it? Everything's to a point because there are problems with most of the things you say. But the T-shirt, it was a David Goggins T-shirt, and it said, "No one cares. Work harder." And there's a grain of truth in that, and I don't think that means you should work hard to the extent that it becomes problematic in terms of your mental and physical well-being. But sometimes it's like, get on with it, man. Get on with it. Work a bit harder. And I don't, and I think working hard is important. And actually, I genuinely believe that most people in the workplace do want to go to work and work hard. They're happy with working hard. It's just if they're being stretched beyond their limits. I understand all that, get all that, but nevertheless, increased humility. What was I saying? Increased humility, continuous growth, and avoiding overconfidence. But also, I think it fuels you because you don't want to be found out because you're an imposter. Because you don't want to be found out, you foster kind of greater attention to the detail. And I'm constantly reading through my notes about things when I'm about to present something, and I'm constantly thinking, oh, who are they again? What's their background? So I make a little note of, because I know somebody will say, I'll mention the name of somebody, and it'll just be a quote that I found somewhere, and I'll have not jotted down the name and put the quote. And I know somebody will say, well, what do they do? Who are they? Why have they got authority in this position? And sometimes when you're working something through and you're making notes, sometimes you forget to look at those. So I keep drilling into the detail. So I think it does that. But also, I think it creates, I think all of that then creates resilience because I now feel prepared. Feel as though I'm in control. And remember, it's all about control, isn't it? I feel in control. I'm well prepared. Potentially, in my case, over prepared, but I'm well prepared. I've attended to the detail, and I've grown as a consequence. So I think imposter syndrome can fuel bad vibes, but it can also kind of help us to kind of overcome, why we're not kind of starting with stuff by thinking that. So we go all the way back full circle to that why question, don't we? So, and one of the things is, I suppose, is if you're finding trouble kind of getting going, I'd suggest picking something that really matters to you. I think that comes from Caroline Webb's book, How to Have a Good Day. Just buy it. So if you're watching me every morning, just buy it because it's a great book. Pick something that really matters to you. Is a good thing, and start with that, and that'll motivate you onto other things, I suppose. So you could do that. I really like Keller and Patterson's one thing idea. What's the one thing that in doing it will make everything else just seem as though it's better? So that's the kind of alternative to that. So there's two kind of almost contradictory things there, but both work in different places, and you've got to try them both out. So either pick something that really matters to you, or pick the thing that's troubling you and get that done, because then everything else will just seem easier. And it's often one of those, the thing that's blocking us from getting started is often something that we maybe keep putting off because we kind of don't like it, or it looks difficult, or it's too big a task, or whatever. So think either what's the thing that really matters to me, or if it's, if you're in a position where you think actually that's the roadblock, that's the thing that that I should be doing that I'm not doing. Do that one thing, then do it. Then do it and do it and do it right now. I think finally, one of the things that stops us from getting started is sometimes I think we are expecting too much of ourselves. Either today, we've outlined a day of utter nonsense because we've packed so much into it. We haven't built in slippage into the task. We're up against it. I think I need to get these 20 things done, and there's no way you're going to do that. And I think actually looking at that list just stops you in your tracks. So we're expecting too much of ourselves either today or maybe this week. It's the same problem. This week I'm going to try and get all these things done. No, you're not. Be realistic. But also maybe you're expecting too much of life. And I think if we're driven to expect so much from life, and if we just expect a bit less from life, then we might find we can achieve those things that are on our radar to achieve, rather than running ourselves into the ground trying to achieve everything there is out there to achieve. There you go. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you soon.